He thought ghosting me would leave me broken. Then he found out what I did with his name. The last message from Miles Reynolds sat in my phone like a digital gravestone. Had an amazing time with you tonight, Blythe. Can't wait to see you again soon. That was 4 months ago. 4 months of absolute silence after what I thought was the beginning of something real. After 8 months of dating, shared dreams, meeting each other's families, and him telling me I was the one he'd been waiting for his whole life. My name is Blythe Wesley. I'm 28 years old and I run a boutique digital marketing agency called Pinnacle Strategies here in Denver, Colorado. For the past 5 years, I've built my reputation on helping businesses create powerful online presences and manage their digital reputations. What Miles didn't know, when he decided to vanish from my life without a single word of explanation, was that ghosting the wrong person, especially someone who specializes in digital strategy, can have consequences he never saw coming. I should have seen the signs earlier, but love has a way of making even the smartest people blind to obvious red flags. Miles Reynolds was everything I thought I wanted in a partner when we met at a mutual friend's barbecue last spring. He was 31. Devastatingly handsome with those piercing blue eyes and that confident smile that could light up a room. He worked as a personal trainer at one of Denver's most exclusive gyms, but his real passion was his dream of building a fitness empire. Miles had big plans, his own chain of boutique fitness studios, a line of supplements, workout programs, maybe even a reality show about transformation stories. He had the charisma, the knowledge, and the ambition. What he lacked, as I would later discover, was integrity, business acumen, and basic human decency. Our first few months together felt like something out of a romantic movie. Miles would surprise me with flowers at my office, plan elaborate weekend getaways to Aspen and Boulder, and spend hours talking about our future together. He'd pick me up from work in his pristine black BMW, always dressed impeccably, always smelling like that expensive cologne I grew to associate with safety and love. We had our routines, Tuesday night dinners at Giuseppe's, our favorite Italian place downtown. Saturday morning hikes followed by brunch at the little cafe near my apartment. Sunday afternoons spent planning his business ventures, with me offering marketing advice and him listening with what I thought was genuine interest and appreciation. Miles integrated me into his life seamlessly. I met his friends, a group of fellow trainers and wannabe entrepreneurs who treated him like their unofficial leader. I attended his gym's events as his girlfriend, standing proudly beside him as he networked and charmed potential clients. He brought me to his sister's wedding in California, where he introduced me to his entire extended family as the woman I'm going to marry someday. I fell completely, utterly, stupidly in love. For 8 months, Miles Reynolds was the center of my universe. I rearranged my work schedule to accommodate his. I invested emotionally in his dreams, staying up late helping him draft business plans and marketing strategies. I even lent him $5,000 when he said he needed it for new equipment and certification courses that would take his career to the next level. Then, without warning, he was gone. The change didn't happen overnight. Looking back now, I can see the subtle shifts that began about 3 weeks before he disappeared entirely. Our Tuesday dinners became maybe, depending on how my evening sessions go. Saturday morning hikes turned into, I'm exhausted, can we just stay in? Sunday planning sessions became him scrolling through his phone while I talked, offering distracted mhms instead of the engaged discussion we used to have. His texts became shorter, less frequent. Instead of the long, thoughtful messages he used to send throughout the day, I'd get brief responses hours after I'd reached out. Busy day became his standard reply to almost everything. The sex became different, too, less intimate, more mechanical. He'd finish and immediately reach for his phone, claiming he needed to check messages from clients. When I tried to cuddle afterward, he'd stiffen and make excuses about needing to get up early or having somewhere to be. But the biggest red flag, the one I ignored because I didn't want to face what it might mean, was how he started guarding his phone. Miles had always been casual about his devices, often asking me to check his messages while he was driving or handing me his phone to show me funny videos. Suddenly, his phone was face down on every surface, protected by a passcode I'd never seen him use before. When I asked about the change in behavior, Miles became defensive. "You're being paranoid, Blythe. I'm just stressed about work. This is a crucial time for my career and I need to stay focused." He made me feel like I was being needy, clingy, demanding too much of his attention. So I backed off. I gave him space. I convinced myself that this was just a rough patch, that all couples go through phases like this. I told myself that once his work situation stabilized, we'd get back to normal. The last time I saw Miles in person was on a Thursday evening in late October. He came over to my apartment after his last training session, and for a moment, it felt like old times. He brought Thai food from our favorite restaurant, and we watched a movie on my couch. He seemed more relaxed than he'd been in weeks, more like the Miles I'd fallen in love with. We made love that night, and afterward, as we lay in my bed, he traced patterns on my bare shoulder and whispered, "I love you, Blythe. Don't ever doubt that." I fell asleep feeling hopeful, thinking we'd turned a corner. When I woke up the next morning, Miles was gone. I found a note on my kitchen counter. "Had to leave early for a client. See you soon, Jay." That was Friday morning. Friday evening, I texted him asking about our weekend plans. No response. Saturday morning, I called, straight to voicemail. Saturday afternoon, I drove by his apartment. His car wasn't there. By Sunday, I was genuinely worried. I called his gym, pretending to be a client trying to schedule a session. "Miles is not working today," the receptionist told me. "Actually, I'm not sure when he'll be back. You might want to try one of our other trainers." Monday came and went with no word. Tuesday, our usual dinner night, I sat alone at Giuseppe's, checking my phone every 30 seconds, convinced he'd walk through the door with some reasonable explanation and an apology. The explanation never came. For 2 weeks, I lived in limbo. I called, texted, and even showed up at his apartment building. His neighbors hadn't seen him. His gym said he'd taken indefinite leave for personal reasons. His friends either didn't know where he was or were covering for him. I couldn't tell which. I went through all the stages of grief in fast forward. Denial. Maybe he was in an accident. Maybe his phone was broken. Maybe there was some emergency I didn't know about. Anger. How dare he disappear without explanation after 8 months together? Bargaining. If I just waited a little longer, if I tried harder to reach him, maybe he'd come back with a reasonable explanation. Depression. Maybe I wasn't worth an explanation. Maybe I'd imagined our entire relationship. Maybe I was fundamentally unlovable. Then, on a cold November morning exactly 3 weeks after his disappearance, I found my answer. I was having coffee with my friend Lisa when she showed me something on her Instagram feed. "Isn't this that guy you were dating? Miles something?" My blood turned to ice as I stared at her phone screen. There was Miles, looking tanned and relaxed, his arm around a stunning blonde woman on what appeared to be a beach in Mexico. The caption read, "New adventures with this incredible woman. Sometimes life takes you exactly where you need to be. #blessed, new beginnings, #cabo." The post was dated just 5 days earlier. I scrolled through more photos. Miles and the mystery woman at airport gates, in hotel rooms, at romantic dinners. The timeline became horrifyingly clear he'd been planning this trip, this relationship, while he was still with me. While he was telling me he loved me, while he was making love to me in my bed, while he was taking my money for his business investments. I handed Lisa her phone back and excused myself to the bathroom, where I promptly threw up. When I returned to the table, Lisa was looking at me with a mixture of sympathy and concern. "Blythe, I'm so sorry, I had no idea." "It's fine," I said. but my voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. At least now I know. But it wasn't fine. For the next week, I was a zombie. I went through the motions of running my business, meeting with clients, managing campaigns, but my heart wasn't in it. I'd built my entire professional reputation on understanding human psychology and predicting behavior, yet I'd been completely blindsided by the man I thought I knew better than anyone. My work suffered. I missed deadlines, forgot about meetings, and found myself staring at my computer screen for hours without accomplishing anything productive. My assistant, Maria, finally confronted me. "Blythe, I don't know what's going on with you lately, but this isn't like you. The Henderson account is threatening to pull out because you haven't returned their calls. The Morrison campaign launch got pushed back because you forgot to approve the final graphics. What's happening?" I almost told her everything, almost broke down and sobbed about Miles and how he'd destroyed my faith in my own judgment. Instead, I took a deep breath and made a decision. "You're right. I've been distracted, but that ends now. Schedule a team meeting for tomorrow morning. We're going to refocus and recommit to excellence." That night, I sat in my home office, the same office where I'd spent countless hours helping Miles plan his business dreams, and did what I should have done weeks earlier. I got angry. Not the destructive, irrational anger that makes people key cars or send nasty text messages. The cold, calculating anger of a woman who'd been underestimated and was ready to remind the world exactly who she was. Miles Reynolds thought he could ghost me and disappear into his new life without consequences. He thought I'd cry for a few weeks, maybe stalk his social media for a while, then eventually move on and forget about him. He had no idea who he was dealing with. I opened my laptop and began to research. Not Miles's new girlfriend or his vacation photos. I'd tortured myself enough with those. Instead, I researched Miles himself. His digital footprint, his business aspirations, his online presence, and most importantly, his vulnerabilities. What I discovered was both pathetic and infuriating. Miles had been sloppy with his digital security for years. He used the same password for everything, FitLife123, which I knew because I'd watched him type it countless times. He'd never bothered to secure domain names related to his business ideas, despite talking about them constantly. His social media accounts were poorly managed, with inconsistent branding and unprofessional content mixed in with his fitness posts. For someone who claimed to want to build a fitness empire, Miles had done virtually nothing to protect or develop his brand. He was all talk and no strategy. That was about to change. With my help. I started with domain registration. Miles had spent months telling me about his various business ideas. Reynolds Fitness Revolution, Miles Transformation Zone, Elite Training with Miles Reynolds, and at least a dozen other concepts. He'd never registered a single domain name for any of them. So I did. Over the course of 3 hours, I purchased every domain variation I could think of related to Miles's name and business aspirations. Miles, ReynoldsFitness.com, ReynoldsTraining.net, MilesPersonalTrainer.org, EliteTrainingMiles.com, Miles's Transformation Zone.net, 37 domains in total, all for less than $400. But domain squatting was just the beginning. Next, I created social media accounts. Not fake accounts impersonating Miles that would be illegal and unethical. Instead, I created accounts for fictional fitness-related businesses with names similar to what Miles might want to use. At Reynolds Fitness Rev, at Miles's Training Zone, at Elite Coach Miles accounts that would make it impossible for him to secure the handles he'd need for his business ventures. I populated these accounts with generic fitness content, motivational quotes, and industry news. Nothing personal, nothing defamatory, just professional-looking content that would establish the accounts as legitimate and active. Then, I got creative. Using my network of contacts in the fitness and wellness industry, I began reaching out to bloggers, influencers, and online publications with story ideas about accountability in the fitness industry. I pitched articles about red flags to watch for when hiring personal trainers, the importance of professional boundaries, and how to research fitness professionals before working with them. I never mentioned Miles by name in my pitches, but I made sure the resulting articles would be highly relevant to anyone searching for information about personal trainers in the Denver area. Within 6 weeks, I had a network of high-quality SEO-optimized content scattered across the internet, all of it designed to capture search traffic for fitness-related terms in Denver. But my masterpiece was milesreynoldstruth.com. I spent 2 weeks crafting this website, making it look professional and informative rather than vindictive. The homepage featured a clean, modern design with the tagline, "Your resource for fitness industry accountability." The content was carefully written to provide genuine value while also serving my purposes. I created sections on red flags in personal training, how to research fitness professionals, and understanding professional boundaries in the wellness industry. Each article was meticulously researched and genuinely helpful. I wanted this site to actually benefit people, not just serve my revenge plot. The genius was in the SEO optimization. I structured the content so that anyone searching for Miles Reynolds Personal Trainer Denver would find my site ranking high in the results. Not because I mentioned Miles specifically, but because I'd created content that Google's algorithms determined was highly relevant to those search terms. I also created a section called Success Stories, featuring anonymous testimonials from people who'd been helped by the information on the site. These weren't fake. I reached out to my network and found genuine stories from people who'd had bad experiences with fitness professionals and wished they'd known what to look for. The website launched on a Tuesday morning in January, exactly 3 months after Miles's disappearing act. By Friday, it was ranking on the first page of Google results for several key search terms related to personal training in Denver. But I wasn't done yet. Phase 2 of my strategy involved Miles's professional network. Through careful research on LinkedIn and Instagram, I'd identified the key players in Denver's fitness industry: gym owners, supplement company executives, wellness influencers, and potential business partners Miles might want to work with in the future. I began engaging with these people on social media, not as Blythe, who was ghosted by Miles, but as Blythe, the successful marketing executive. I commented thoughtfully on their posts, shared their content, and offered genuine insights about digital marketing in the fitness industry. Slowly, I built relationships with the very people Miles would need to network with to achieve his business goals. I became a known quantity in Denver's fitness scene, not as someone's ex-girlfriend, but as a professional who understood the industry. This positioning would become crucial later. The third phase was the most satisfying. I began documenting everything. Every piece of content I created, every domain I registered, every social media account I established. I kept meticulous records, timestamps, and screenshots. I wanted to be able to prove, if necessary, that everything I'd done was legal, ethical, and professionally executed. I also began monitoring Miles's online activity. Not obsessively, but strategically. I set up Google alerts for his name and variations of his business ideas. I tracked his social media accounts, from a fake account, of course, to understand his patterns and plans. What I discovered was that Miles had returned from his Mexico trip with the blonde woman whose name, I learned, was Brittany, and was already talking about launching his fitness business. His Instagram stories were full of motivational posts about new beginnings and following your dreams. The irony was delicious. While Miles was posting about new beginnings, I was systematically eliminating his ability to begin anything in the fitness industry, at least in Denver. By March, my strategy was showing results. Miles had apparently tried to register domains for several business ideas, only to find them already taken. His attempts to secure social media handles were similarly frustrated. More importantly, anyone who Googled his name before potentially working with him would find my carefully curated content about fitness industry standards and red flags. I knew my plan was working when I received a text message from an unknown number on a Thursday afternoon in late March. "We need to talk, Miles." I stared at the message for a full 5 minutes before responding. After 4 months of silence, suddenly he needed to talk. I let him wait 6 hours before replying. "I'm sorry, I don't have this number saved. Who is this?" My phone rang immediately. "Blythe, it's Miles. Don't play games with me." His voice was different than I remembered, sharper, more stressed. The confident, charming tone I'd fallen in love with was gone, replaced by something that sounded almost desperate. "Miles," I said, as if trying to place the name. "Miles Reynolds? I haven't heard from you in, what has it been? 4 months?" "Cut the shit, Blythe. I know what you're doing." "I'm afraid I don't know what you mean. I've been working, building my business, living my life." "What exactly do you think I'm doing?" "The websites, the domain names, the social media accounts, all of it. I know it's you." I smiled, grateful he couldn't see my face through the phone. "Miles, I run a digital marketing agency. Creating websites and managing social media accounts is literally my job. Are you suggesting there's something wrong with me conducting business?" "Don't give me that innocent act. You're sabotaging my business before I can even launch it." "What business would that be? Last I heard you were in Mexico with your girlfriend. Are you starting a travel blog?" The silence stretched long enough that I wondered if he'd hung up. "Blythe, I'm going to ask you one time to stop this. Take down the websites, release the domain names, and let me move on with my life." "Or what?" "Or I'll take legal action." I laughed, and I didn't try to hide my amusement. "Miles, I'd love to see that lawsuit. Your Honor, my ex-girlfriend legally purchased domain names and created informational websites about fitness industry standards. I demand she stop conducting legitimate business activities because they're inconvenient for me. This is harassment." "No, Miles. Harassment is what you did to me. Ghosting someone after 8 months of a relationship, taking their money, and disappearing without explanation, that's harassment. What I'm doing is business." "I never took your money." "Really? What about the $5,000 you borrowed for equipment and certifications? I still have the texts where you promised to pay me back." Another long silence. "That was different. That was when we were together. And now we're not together because you disappeared without a word. But the debt remains." "Blythe, please. I'm trying to start over here. I made mistakes, but I don't deserve this." "What exactly do you think you deserve, Miles? You think you deserve to ghost someone who loved you and then waltz back into the same city and start a business like nothing happened? You think you deserve to use someone's feelings and then face no consequences when you discard them?" "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like? Please explain to me what it was like, because I've been trying to figure that out for 4 months. I could hear him breathing heavily on the other end of the line. "Look, things with us got complicated. Brittany came back into my life and I didn't know how to handle it. I should have been more direct with you, but I didn't want to hurt you." "Brittany came back into your life? Was she an ex?" "My ex-fiancé. We broke up 2 years ago, but she reached out last summer wanting to try again." The pieces clicked into place. Miles hadn't just ghosted me for a random woman he'd met. He'd been carrying on some kind of emotional affair with his ex-fiancée while we were together. Our entire relationship had been built on a lie. "So let me understand this," I said, my voice deadly calm. "You were engaged to this woman. You broke up. Then while you were dating me, she decided she wanted you back, and you chose her over me. But instead of being honest about it, you just disappeared and let me think I'd done something wrong. It wasn't that simple. It was exactly that simple. You're just too much of a coward to admit it. Blythe, I'm sorry. I handled it badly, but I'm trying to make amends now." "Make amends? Miles, you didn't forget my birthday or cancel a date. You vanished from my life for 4 months and left me questioning everything about myself and our relationship. You don't make amends for that with a phone call." What do you want from me? I want you to understand that actions have consequences. You thought you could treat me like I was disposable and then move on with your life like I never existed. You were wrong. So you're going to ruin my business prospects out of spite? I'm not ruining anything. I'm providing a valuable service by educating people about red flags in the fitness industry. If that happens to affect your business prospects, maybe you should consider why. This is insane. You're being vindictive and petty. No, Miles, vindictive and petty would be creating fake reviews or spreading lies about you. What I'm doing is legal, ethical, and based entirely on publicly available information and industry standards. If you can't meet those standards, that's not my problem. I'm hanging up now. This conversation is over? Miles, wait. What? Next time you want to start over in a new city, you might want to consider relocating somewhere your reputation hasn't preceded you. He hung up. 2 weeks later, I received an email from a Denver law firm representing Miles. The letter was exactly what I'd expected, a lot of legal jargon essentially demanding that I remove my websites and stop interfering with Miles's business activities. I forwarded the letter to my own attorney, Patricia Walsh, who specialized in business law and had handled several cases involving online reputation and digital marketing disputes. Patricia called me that same afternoon, and I could hear the amusement in her voice. Blythe, this is possibly the weakest cease and desist letter I've ever seen. Their argument is basically that you're being mean to their client by running legitimate websites and owning domain names. There's nothing illegal about what you've done. I was pretty sure of that, but I wanted a professional opinion. Their threat of legal action is empty. Everything you've done is protected speech and legitimate business activity. If anything, they're the ones who could get in trouble for filing a frivolous lawsuit. So I should ignore the letter. I'll draft a response explaining that you're engaged in protected speech and lawful business activities, and that any attempt to file suit based on these claims would be considered harassment. That should shut them up. Patricia's response letter was a masterpiece of legal intimidation disguised as professional courtesy. She methodically dismantled each of Miles's claims while subtly threatening sanctions for any frivolous legal action. I never heard from Miles's lawyers again. But Miles wasn't done trying to reach me. 3 weeks after the legal threat failed, I received a Facebook message from Brittany, his girlfriend. The message was long, rambling, and clearly written by someone who was either very drunk or very upset. Blythe, I know you probably hate me, and I understand why. Miles told me about your relationship and how it ended. He also told me about what you're doing to try to hurt his business. I want you to know that I never meant for any of this to happen. Miles and I have history. We were engaged 2 years ago, but broke up because we weren't ready. When I reached out to him last year, I didn't know he was in a serious relationship with you. He told me you guys were just casual, that it wasn't serious. He made it sound like you wouldn't be hurt if he moved on. I would never have gotten involved if I'd known the truth. I'm not trying to make excuses for him or for me. What we did was wrong, but I'm asking you, woman to woman, to please stop punishing him for our mistakes. He's a good person who made bad choices. He doesn't deserve to have his future ruined because of it. I know you're angry and you have every right to be, but this isn't just affecting Miles anymore. We're trying to build a life together, and what you're doing is making that impossible. Please consider letting this go. Brittany. I read the message 3 times, feeling a mixture of anger and pity. Brittany was clearly as much a victim of Miles's lies as I had been. He'd manipulated both of us, telling each of us what we needed to hear to get what he wanted. But what struck me most was her phrase, "He's a good person who made bad choices." No. Good people don't ghost their girlfriends. Good people don't lie to multiple women simultaneously. Good people don't take money from someone and then disappear without repaying it. Miles wasn't a good person who made bad choices. He was a person with questionable character who made choices consistent with that character. I decided to respond, but not in the way Brittany probably expected. Brittany, thank you for reaching out. I can tell this was difficult for you to write, and I appreciate your honesty about the situation. You're right that I'm angry, but not for the reasons you might think. I'm not angry that Miles chose you over me. People fall out of love, relationships end, and that's part of life. I'm angry about how he handled it. You say Miles told you we were just casual, but we were together for 8 months. I met his family, attended his sister's wedding, helped him plan his business ventures, and lent him money for his career development. That's not casual. You also mentioned that you wouldn't have gotten involved if you'd known the truth. But here's the thing, Miles knew the truth, and he got involved anyway. He made a choice to lie to both of us rather than being honest with either of us. I'm not trying to ruin Miles's future out of spite. What I've done is create educational content about professional standards in the fitness industry and secure domain names for potential future business use. These are legal business activities that I would engage in regardless of my personal history with Miles. If these activities are making it difficult for Miles to build his business, perhaps that says something about the importance of reputation and integrity in professional endeavors. I wish you the best, Brittany. You seem like a decent person who got caught up in someone else's poor decisions. I hope things work out for you. Blythe. Brittany never responded, but 2 days later, I received another call from Miles. What did you say to Brittany? His voice was angry in a way I'd never heard before. I told her the truth. Something you might want to try sometime. She's having second thoughts about us because of what you said. What I said, or what she learned about your character? You turned her against me. Miles, I didn't have to turn anyone against you. Your own actions did that. I just provided some context that you apparently failed to mention. Brittany is the best thing that ever happened to me. If you ruin this relationship too, I'll what? You'll ghost me again? The line went quiet. Miles, let me explain something to you. Brittany is having second thoughts because she's realized that if you could lie to me for months, you could lie to her too. That if you could ghost someone you claim to love, you might do the same to her. That's not my fault, that's yours. I never lied to you. You were emotionally involved with your ex-fiancé while telling me I was the love of your life. What would you call that? It was complicated. It was dishonest. And now Brittany sees that pattern of dishonesty and is questioning whether she can trust you. That's not my doing, that's the natural consequence of your choices. Blythe, I'm begging you, please just let this go. Take down the websites, stop interfering in my life, and let me try to fix things with Brittany. No. Why not? What do you gain from this? I gain the satisfaction of knowing that the next woman you date will be able to Google your name and make an informed decision about whether to trust you. I gain the knowledge that other women won't have to go through what I went through because they'll have access to information about red flags in relationships. You're destroying my life. I'm holding you accountable for your actions. There's a difference. I'll pay you back the money I borrowed. All of it, with interest. It's not about the money anymore, Miles. It never really was. Then what is it about? It's about the fact that you thought you could treat me like garbage and face no consequences. It's about the fact that you believed you could lie to multiple women, manipulate our emotions, and then just start over in the same city like nothing happened. It's about teaching you that some actions have permanent consequences. This is crazy. You're obsessed with me. I laughed. Miles, if I were obsessed with you, I'd be trying to win you back. What I'm doing is ensuring that I never have to think about you again, because you'll be too busy dealing with the consequences of your choices to bother anyone else. I'm going to fight this. I'm going to find a way to stop you. Good luck with that. Everything I've done is legal, ethical, and well documented. But please, feel free to waste more money on lawyers who will tell you the same thing. 6 months after Miles's first call, I received an email from him. No legal threats this time, no demands or accusations, just a simple message. Blythe, Brittany left me last month. She said she couldn't trust someone who could ghost a girlfriend the way I ghosted you. She was probably right. I've been thinking a lot about what you said about consequences and accountability. I've also been going to therapy, trying to understand why I sabotage good relationships. I'm not writing this to ask you to take down your websites or to apologize in hopes of getting your forgiveness. I'm writing because I wanted you to know that I understand now what I did to you was wrong. Not just the ghosting, but the lying, the manipulation, the taking your money and your time and your trust and then throwing it all away. I don't know if I'm a good person who made bad choices or a bad person who occasionally does good things, but I know that what I did to you was inexcusable, and I'm sorry. I'm leaving Denver. I can't build a business here, obviously, but that's not the main reason. I need to start over somewhere where I'm not constantly reminded of the worst version of myself. I hope you're happy, Blythe. I hope you find someone who deserves you and treats you the way I should have. Miles. I read the email twice, then archived it without responding. A year later, Pinnacle Strategies had its best year ever. My reputation management services were in high demand, particularly among small business owners who had learned the hard way that online reputation matters. I'd hired 2 additional employees and moved to a larger office space downtown. I was having dinner at Giuseppe's. Yes, I'd reclaimed our old Tuesday night spot with my new boyfriend David when he asked me about Miles. Do you ever wonder what happened to him? David knew the whole story. I'd told him early in our relationship because I believed in transparency, and because I wanted him to understand why I might be cautious about fully trusting someone new. Not really, I said, twirling pasta around my fork. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he moved to Portland and is working at a gym there. Apparently, he's keeping a much lower profile. Do you regret what you did? It was a question I'd asked myself many times over the past year. No, I regret that it was necessary, but I don't regret doing it. Because he deserved it? Because other people deserve to be protected from him? Because consequences matter? Because reputation should reflect character, not just marketing? David nodded thoughtfully. You know what I find most impressive about the whole thing? What? That you channeled your anger into something productive instead of something destructive. You didn't try to get revenge, you created accountability. That night, I checked the analytics on milesreynoldstruth.com for the first time in months. The site was still getting steady traffic, and the comments section had evolved into something I never expected: a support community for people who had experienced similar situations. Women and men from across the country were sharing their stories of being ghosted, manipulated, or deceived in relationships. They were offering each other advice, resources, and most importantly, validation that their experience mattered and their feelings were legitimate. What had started as a response to one man's poor behavior had become a platform for people to reclaim their power and support each other through difficult experiences. I scrolled through recent comments. Thank you for creating this site. I was ghosted after a 6-month relationship and blamed myself for months. Reading these stories helped me understand that it wasn't my fault. The red flag section probably saved me from a bad relationship. I recognized several warning signs in someone I was dating and ended things before investing more time and emotion. To whoever created this site, you turned your pain into purpose, and that's inspiring. Thank you for helping the rest of us feel less alone. I smiled, remembering something my therapist had told me months earlier. The best revenge is a life well lived and wisdom shared. Miles Reynolds thought ghosting me would leave me broken, devastated, and questioning my worth. Instead, it taught me that I was stronger than I knew, more resourceful than I'd realized, and capable of turning betrayal into something meaningful. He disappeared from my life thinking he held all the power. He found out too late that the power had been mine all along. 2 years after the ghosting incident, I received one final message from Miles. It came through LinkedIn, which surprised me. It was the most professional platform he could have chosen. Blythe, I know I have no right to contact you, and I'll understand if you don't respond to this message. I wanted to let you know that I'm engaged. Not to Brittany, we broke up permanently about a year ago. To someone new? Someone I met in Portland. Her name is Michelle, and she's nothing like you or Brittany. She's a nurse, incredibly grounded, and she has this way of calling me out on my bullshit without making me feel attacked. When we started getting serious, I told her everything about my past, including what I did to you. I showed her your website. I was terrified she'd leave me. Instead, she said she was grateful for the information because it helped her understand what to watch for and what standards to hold me to. She said your site probably saved her from making a mistake with someone else before she met me. I wanted you to know that I've spent the last 2 years in therapy, working on understanding why I sabotage relationships and hurt people I care about. I've learned about attachment styles, emotional regulation, and how childhood trauma can manifest in adult relationships. I'm not using any of that as an excuse, just explaining that I'm finally doing the work I should have done years ago. I also wanted you to know that I read the comments on your website sometimes. What you created became something bigger than just holding me accountable. You built a community where people support each other through betrayal and manipulation. You turned something ugly into something beautiful. Michelle and I are planning a small wedding next spring. We're both committed to radical honesty with each other, partly because of the lessons we learned from our past relationships. She jokes that you're going to be an honorary guest at our wedding because your website taught her what healthy boundaries look like. I don't expect forgiveness, and I'm not asking for it. I just wanted you to know that the consequences you created from my actions led to real change. Not just behavior modification, but actual character development. You probably saved Michelle from the pain you experienced, and you might have saved other women too. I hope you're well, Blythe. I hope you found someone who deserves your intelligence, your strength, and your capacity for love. You deserve everything I was too broken to give you. With respect and gratitude, Miles. P.S. I paid off the $5,000 I owed you by donating it to a women's shelter in Denver. I know that doesn't make up for taking it in the first place, but I wanted you to know it went to help other women who deserved better than they got. I stared at the message for a long time, feeling a complex mixture of emotions I hadn't expected. Relief that he'd found genuine help. Satisfaction that the accountability had led to real growth. Sadness for the time and energy that had been wasted on someone who couldn't appreciate what he had when he had it. But mostly, I felt closure. I showed the message to David that evening. We'd been married for 6 months now, and I'd never hidden anything from him about my past. "Are you going to respond?" he asked, settling beside me on our couch. "I think so, but I'm not sure what to say." "What do you feel like you want to say?" I thought about it. That I'm glad he got help. That I hope he treats Michelle better than he treated me. That I'm grateful the story had a better ending than I expected. Then say that. My response was brief. "Miles, thank you for letting me know about your growth and your engagement. I'm genuinely happy that you found someone who helps you be a better version of yourself, and that you're doing the work to become the partner she deserves. You're right that consequences led to change, but the credit for that change belongs to you and the effort you put into therapy and self-reflection. I created accountability. You chose how to respond to it. I wish you and Michelle a lifetime of happiness built on the honesty and communication you both clearly value." The donation was a thoughtful gesture. Thank you. Blythe. P.S. Tell Michelle she has good instincts about red flags. That skill will serve her well in all areas of life. 3 months later, I received a wedding invitation. Not to attend that would have been inappropriate, but Michelle had enclosed a note explaining that they were donating to domestic violence prevention organizations in lieu of traditional wedding favors, and they wanted me to know that one of those donations was being made in my name. Because, her note read, Your website taught me that women supporting women is one of the most powerful forces in the world. Thank you for turning your pain into protection for others. That same week, I made a decision about milesreynoldstruth.com. The site had evolved far beyond its original purpose, becoming a resource that helped thousands of people recognize manipulation, set boundaries, and support each other through difficult relationships. But it still carried Miles's name in the domain, which no longer felt appropriate. I purchased a new domain, relationshipredflags.org, and began the process of migrating all the content, comments, and community features to the new site. The transition took months, but it was worth it. The site was no longer about one man's bad behavior. It was about empowering people to recognize and respond to unhealthy relationship patterns. On the day I officially shut down the old site, I felt lighter than I had in years. Miles Reynolds no longer had any space in my digital world or my mental energy. The chapter was finally, completely closed. 5 years after that terrible October night when Miles disappeared from my life, I was keynoting a conference about digital ethics and online reputation management. During the Quanda session, a young woman raised her hand. I have a personal question, if that's okay. Have you ever used your marketing skills for personal reasons? Like, to get back at someone who hurt you? The audience chuckled, probably expecting me to deflect or give a generic answer about professional boundaries. Instead, I told them Miles's story. Not the whole thing that would have taken hours, but the essential elements. The ghosting, the discovery of his deception, my decision to create accountability rather than seek revenge, and the unexpected community that grew from that choice. The most important lesson I learned, I concluded, is that how we respond to betrayal reveals more about our character than the betrayal itself reveals about the other person's character. I could have chosen destruction, but I chose construction. I could have focused on hurting him, but I focused on helping others. The audience was silent for a moment, then burst into applause. After my presentation, dozens of people approached me with their own stories of betrayal, manipulation, and recovery. Many had found strength in online communities similar to what I'd accidentally created. Others had used their professional skills to rebuild after personal disasters. But the conversation that stuck with me came from a middle-aged man who waited until everyone else had left. I was Miles, he said quietly, not literally, but I treated women the way he treated you. I ghosted. I manipulated. I took what I wanted and disappeared when things got complicated. He paused, looking uncomfortable but determined to continue. 5 years ago, I ghosted a woman I'd been dating for 6 months. She was amazing, kind, intelligent, successful, but I panicked when she started talking about our future. Instead of being honest, I just stopped responding to her calls and texts. What made you realize that was wrong? I asked. My daughter started dating. She came home crying one night because some guy had ghosted her after 3 months together. Watching her question her worth, wondering what she'd done wrong, I realized I'd done that to someone else's daughter. I'd caused that same pain. He took a deep breath. I tracked down the woman I'd ghosted and wrote her a letter, not asking for forgiveness, just acknowledging what I'd done and apologizing. I also started volunteering with a men's group that focuses on healthy relationship skills. How did she respond? She didn't, and that's okay. I didn't deserve a response, but her sister responded and told me the apology meant something to her healing process. That was enough. As I drove home that night, I thought about the ripple effects of our choices. Miles's decision to ghost me had led to consequences he never anticipated, not just for him, but for hundreds of people who found strength and community through the site I created in response to his betrayal. My decision to create accountability rather than seek revenge had led to changes I never expected, not just in Miles's life, but in the lives of everyone who read those stories, recognized those red flags, or found support in that community. Every choice creates ripples. The question is whether we choose to create ripples of destruction or ripples of healing. I chose healing, And that choice changed everything. I'm writing this from my home office, a beautiful, light-filled space that overlooks the mountains outside Denver. Pinnacle Strategies now employs 12 people and has become one of the most respected digital marketing agencies in the state. We specialize in reputation management and crisis communications, helping businesses and individuals navigate the complex world of online presence. RelationshipRedFlags.org has grown into a comprehensive resource with forums, educational articles, support groups, and partnerships with domestic violence prevention organizations. It's run by a team of volunteers and funded through donations and partnerships. I stepped back from day-to-day management 3 years ago, but I'm still proud of what it's become. David and I have 2 children now, Emma, who's 4, and Lucas, who's 2. Sometimes I look at them and think about the world they're growing up in, where digital footprints are permanent and online reputations can follow you forever. I hope I'm raising them to understand that their choices matter, that their actions have consequences, and that integrity is more valuable than convenience. I still get messages occasionally from people who found the site during dark periods in their lives. They thank me for creating something that helped them feel less alone, less crazy, less broken. These messages remind me that pain shared becomes pain halved, and wisdom shared becomes wisdom multiplied. Last month, I received a LinkedIn message that made me smile. Blythe, you don't know me, but I wanted to thank you. 3 years ago, I started dating a guy who seemed perfect. Charming, successful, everything I thought I wanted. But something felt off. So I Googled him and found your website. The red flags section helped me recognize that his behavior, love bombing followed by withdrawal, isolating me from friends, financial manipulation matched patterns described on your site. I ended the relationship before it could cause serious damage to my life. Last week, I got engaged to someone wonderful. Someone honest, consistent, and supportive. Someone who enhances my life instead of complicating it. I probably would have learned these lessons eventually, but your site saved me months or years of heartbreak. Thank you for turning your experience into education for the rest of us. With gratitude, Rebecca. Messages like Rebecca's remind me why I made the choices I did 7 years ago. Miles Reynolds thought ghosting me would leave me broken and defeated. Instead, it taught me that I had more strength than I knew, more resilience than I'd imagined, and more power than I'd ever realized. He disappeared, thinking he'd won some kind of game. He discovered too late that I'd been playing by different rules entirely. The best revenge, as it turns out, isn't revenge at all. It's building something beautiful from the wreckage someone else leaves behind, then using that beauty to light the way for others walking through similar darkness. Miles taught me what I didn't want in a partner and in life. David showed me what I did want. My children remind me every day what I'm building toward. And sometimes, on quiet evenings when the kids are asleep and David is reading beside me, I think about that October night 7 years ago when my phone went silent and stayed silent. I think about the woman I was then, heartbroken, confused, questioning everything about myself. I wish I could tell her that the silence wasn't the end of her story. It was just the beginning of a much better one.